Goliath.
Welcome back, Shinners. Welcome back to the Shindig podcast, where it's I, Tom Hutley, and I'm here with...
Oh, that's me, isn't it? Yeah, Matt Pengelly.
Matthew Pengelly, and we have Trials legend. Let's go with surname Goddard, the only Goddard in Trials. It is Mr. Nick Goddard.
Woo! The original Goddard.
The original Goddard.
Mr. Nick Goddard.
How's it going, Nick?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad.
Good, mate. Where are you in the world today?
So I'm now in Friar Barnet, probably not too far away from you guys.
Yeah,
I'm in my loft.
Actually,
not far at all.
That's 5 minutes up the road.
Yeah.
I ordered Uber Eats from there like 2 days ago. I didn't realise how close you were, Nick.
Yeah, I saw you guys put out an edit recently and you're in Barnet, and I was like, hang on a minute, that's where I've moved to. Because we only moved here in December last year, so it's all quite new to me.
Oh, okay. So you're fresh in this area. Yeah.
The London trial scene gets even more epic. So yeah, this 2021's gonna be a good year. Then I feel, yeah.
Yeah, it really is kicking off. So for those that actually might have no clue who you are, Nick, could you give us a little quick background of yourself?
So I've been into trials for absolutely years now. I think I started when I was like 14 years old, and just continued to about sort of 2010 when I sort of faded out a little bit. But I've kind of always been interested in trials, so it kind of never went away, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's always in the blood.
Where did that start for you? How did you begin?
I think like a lot of other riders, kind of like first I had a cross country bike, and then like some other bikes, and it was just like the hip hop page in MBUK, which kind of appealed to me, I think.
Yeah.
And then you see Ashton about, and from then on it was like...
That was like the only media back then, wasn't it? It was like one page.
I remember that. I'd get a subscription. My nan would buy me MBUK magazine like every month when it would come out, and you'd just be like... Screw all this rubbish. Right to the back, and you see like this real nice like headshot of like Martin Ashton smiling away, and yeah, just that one little page, and it'd be like a Danny.
Study those 3 pages.
Yeah.
That was our kind of monthly digest, and it was like, oh, there's fresh media, other than Trials Forum back then. That was a sort of a bigger thing. Speaking of media. You yourself have contributed, we'd like to say contributed quite well to the trials community, industry, whatever we want to call it. Those who don't know, Nick is the man behind Glasseye Trials. Could you give us a little bit about what Glasseye Trials is for those people that don't have a clue?
Or GET, if people have seen that acronym.
Yeah, people often don't know that. So initially it was kind of started with myself and Ben Rowlands. I don't know if you two are familiar with him. He was like a street rider.
Very good rider, Ben,
haven't heard from him in a while, but we were always both filming, and it just, we came up with the idea of making the first DVD, Get One, which seemed to go on forever.
How did that idea, when you said the DVD, was it because, did you set out to say, yes, we're going to go and capture this footage for the DVD? Or is it more like, oh, look at all this footage we have. Should we make a DVD?
Yeah, it just kind of... I know what you mean. Like, we were filming like short edits. So I used to put out loads of little edits on Trials Forum, the competitions and stuff at the time. But then, we were watching videos, free ones with MBUK or like Sprung or BMX videos and stuff. And we just thought, why don't we make a DVD? Like, how cool would that be, kind of thing. And Ben kind of dropped out after a while, but gave me some of his footage. And then the first one came out in like 2006. And that was a few years worth of footage, which was something kind of unheard of nowadays, isn't it? It's like everything goes out the same day pretty much.
So true.
Well, it's kind of low hanging fruit. We've experienced this for ourselves. It's just too easy to put content out there. So you just do it instantly.
Yeah.
And years ago, you'd have to collect stuff. It was an effort to upload something, so it made sense to kind of just make an edit. So there's less and less.
It was
of that
so
now.
much harder back then for you, I'm sure, Nick. Right? So like a little bit of the process, you had all these clips, but
it would have been on DV tape, I imagine, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Even that process took ages to get it onto the computer. back it up. Computers were slower then. I'm sounding really old now, but I should probably mention one of the reasons I've been putting so much stuff on Instagram this last year was I wanted to get some coverage. Like back then it was a DVD and it's probably seen by about 500 people max. But you put a clip up nowadays and it can be seen by 5,000 people, you know what I mean? It's
and stumble across
a bit of that.
feed.
I missed out of the kind of Instagram.
I think it's like bringing it back, like old films are produced and then there's another fresh buzz about it. New things are coming. I know, for example, people are going to go and watch the Get DVD after this. There's 2, in case people didn't know. There are a couple. And now you can get them on YouTube, or one of them, right?
They're actually both up. Yeah.
Awesome. There we go.
Come on up.
So be interested to know who actually still has the DVD.
That is on one of my questions. Can anyone send us a picture?
I did have one. Because my little story.
A couple behind me,
Hey, because actually Tom has a connection, a personal connection to the DVD. I don't know if Nick's aware.
Yeah, so I was never. I think sure Nick was aware of it because he would have sent a DVD to me. But my brother's band was used in one of the music for it was the Bale section of Get 2, I think.
Okay, how did that come about? Was that through us?
Yeah, so it was on Trials Forum, and it was if anyone wants to, it was basically get royalty-free music. If anyone knows any bands or whatever, and then you'll get a free copy of the DVD. I was like, yeah, free DVD. So I asked my brother, I was like, Joe, there's this guy's making a DVD. Can I give him some of your music? He was like, yeah, sure, go ahead. So I gave him I don't know, all of his tracks at the time, 6, and it got used in the DVD. I was like, so every time that bit comes up, I'm like, yeah.
That must have been so helpful at the time because all of my time was spent emailing bands. It wasn't an official thing, but I wanted permission. There weren't contracts and things, but I wanted to make it kind of slightly legit. That the music wasn't just
No, that is good. I mean, how many times many people made trials videos and just banged a song that they like, and that's fine. That's great. But obviously, for copyright purposes, I think.
Yeah, I think we was kind of loose with it when you was uploading to the internet because it wasn't for any commercial purposes. It was before, ad revenue and stuff on YouTube and that. So I'm sure from yourself, as a bit of it wasn't a huge money spinner, I'm sure, but as to make a bit of money on the side, it was just nice to kind of get it legitimately covered, like you say. But even then, back then, now we take it for granted just how easy it is to go on the internet, find a loop, or go to a stock archive. Whereas, there's so many processes you had to go through to get it done.
So true, yeah. People used to always ask me or message me, and they'd be like, "Oh, when's Get 2 coming out?" Because Get 1 had been out, and people were quite interested in the second one coming out. But I always used to reply, "Oh, I'm still researching the music." It just went on forever, trying to get some semi-decent tracks that I was allowed to use.
Yeah, I know that struggle. Only recently have I also been doing that.
You want to imagine as well, semi-decent. It was probably quite easy to find proper alternative stuff for free, but then actually listenable, watchable stuff.
If it was just something, it's background, you can turn it down, but it was back then, the music, I mean, still to this day, actually, the music does play a huge part in trials videos. I know that some of the first ones I ever made and that helps you edit it, giving you some sort of structure, some constraints, because that way you can get results. So I think the way that it's changed now, making it that much easier, it just becomes harder. That doesn't make sense to make it the more unique. And as that level, a DVD now seems so far-fetched.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. You even had to make the DVD menu. That was a process as well.
Yeah. This is my point. You don't just add the description underneath the YouTube bit that you've done. It was quite funny.
But even the sourcing cases, every process of that is laborious.
I mean, YouTube, obviously YouTube does that, the same of that. And there's that sort of buzz. Media is a big part of trials. It's sort of way we all keep communicating and stay in the know. It's all about new video. Oh, there's a new video here, and that's always been the case.
So there's not any new videos coming out at the moment, but we want to know about Nick, the rider. Are you riding at the moment, Nick? Tell us about where you are. I'm sure many people want to know the answer to this question.
So I'm not at the moment. Long story short, basically my bike's back at my parents' place. They're both shielding at the moment. And obviously we can't really travel. I can't travel to them. They're only in Reading, but when the kind of rules loosen up a bit, I'm going to get back and get the bike, just because there's such a buzz about it at the moment. Like on Facebook, there's like the 90s trials group. Everyone's just like posting every day on there, and just actually watching some of the riders I used to knock about with all the time, like Sam Wheeler and guys like that. They're back riding, and I think he's on like a new bike.
Yeah, new style. I've never rode with Sam. All the years I've been riding, the 15 years, I never rode with Wheeler. Must have had all his videos too. So even for people like ourselves, who I've never got rid of a trials bike, I've always ridden it. It's been a huge impact that whole year, just meeting these people, and like I say, the buzz is the key word there.
Yeah, and you guys are helping with this podcast. Like
that's also good to know.
I think Rossi G mentioned it as well. Like Trials has been crying out for something like this to kind of give Trials like a bit more depth. Do you know what I mean? Rather than just these videos that go out, like actually having some interviews and some kind of...
Well, it's as simple as discussion. That's the word I'm going to use. It's like there's nowhere out there, maybe Facebook comments and chats, but at the end of the day, everyone wants to be funny and creative in those moments and impress. Whereas here, it's just legit, sit down, have a coffee and chat. And we've all been doing this for years.
Yeah, and I just think the timing of it is so right, because obviously, of course, it was locked down. People wanted to listen to it because it can be locked down. But like I said, that buzz started again. It was Facebook. The people made this reunion ride page, and there's a few Instagram pages were made. Joe put some photos up. You've put some photos up on the Glasseye Trials Instagram, and it's just gone up from there. Basically,
once everyone chips away at it and does their bit, they contribute in any way, shape, or form. That's how it sort of all.
I think we've really noticed it as well since we've been doing this more. Other people have been putting out more content, so it's everyone's kind of jumped
exactly.
on it.
I'm like, oh wow, that Instagram account has been so dead, and all of a sudden we spoke about them, and now they're back in the limelight. So
on that note, Nick, that then pretty much means you've got to make Get Free on the basis of us talking about media.
Well, that's another chat. I was like, why can't we can help? We could help and get involved and get free if we're pushing out all this media and discussions.
Yeah, because there's always been chats of a big ride, and the reunion ride was the Facebook page that has yet to officially happen.
Did it not happen last year? There was a small gathering.
There was some good rides about, but I don't think it was.
It wasn't called it wasn't
the official.
The official sort of group ride. I know that is still to be determined, essentially, but it's going to be this summer, likely.
Yeah,
Jack Meek knows about it, so we can draft his organisational skills in.
Even Meek's going to be...
We've got Nick on. This is basically what the podcast is. We're just making a massive reunion ride and going to get it covered from all angles. So, Nick, you're going to be filming and editing it. Thank you for stepping up to the challenge.
That's what I was going to ask, actually, because that's what I personally finding. We're trying to make weekly videos, and that is tough. It can be... What I can sometimes struggle to do is go out and be like, right, I'm riding and filming. Did you often have a day where you're like, I'm filming today, not riding, I'm going to focus on that and make sure I get the shots? Because a DVD is a pretty big deal and you need to be reasonably good level of filming. What was your process in capturing that?
Can I just add to that as well? Because you're not... you're a pretty good rider, Nick. Some people who film, like myself included in the past, it's like I'm not very good at riding, so I'll just film.
Oh, you're really good at riding and not good at filming.
Yeah, exactly.
Steve Rogers.
But you've got both. Yeah, exactly. Steve is terrible.
Well, that's a kind thing to say. I think the secret to it was I had a lot of time on my hands. Obviously now I've got a son, and time has become very precious. Which is a whole other story. But back then, I think I had time to just go out and practice, and practicing was all the time. I wasn't one of those riders who'd be I'm practicing every Wednesday at 5 p.m. and then sometimes ride Saturdays. For me, it was a little bit every day. Had some pallets in the garden and stuff like that. And then the big group rides at the weekend. And, I knew Porter and, John Shrewsbury would be coming down and stuff, and I'd set some time aside to get some really good angles of their stuff, and they were quite hyped off of that as well. They
knew they could just ride, and they were going to get seen almost.
Yeah, And but back then there weren't that many cameras around. The riders did start to have their own cameras a little bit, but my camera back then was absolutely gigantic. It was called a Sony VX2100.
2100.
Like
I must look it up now because
you'll have to look it up. Basically, you could almost carry it on your shoulder. It was a big camera, so it looked like you knew what you were doing.
Right, you're like, guys, the BBC are here filming us.
I mean, it just looks so ridiculous nowadays, but I think that helped make it look like it was a proper video that was about to be made.
Well, also the guys were doing like epic stuff, like gnarly shit. Even to this day now, there are some lines you look at and you go, well, no one's going to do that. It's just that bit unnecessary. It's a 9-foot drop onto a single post. So, something like that people just go, don't really see the benefit of me doing it.
You know what it was, right? It was like you'd have your ride, and I'm sure this is a similar kind of formula to what happens on rides nowadays. You have like your warm-up ledge, you'll go and like do 1,000 side ups, do your taps and stuff. But like later on in the ride, when you're all like warm, someone wants to do something stupid, like wants to do a drop gap that's particularly dangerous, and that happens. It has like a roll-on effect. Someone else is like, right, I'm gonna ride this rail now, and okay, that's
he just got me buzzed. Yeah,
and then like by the end of the day, you just got this like amazing footage just because people are like pushing each other. It's like, good times.
Yeah, sometimes sticking a camera down is everything, and we've learned that this year.
Well, it always used to be like the "you've been framed" moment. It's like, I'll get this on camera because if I don't make it, I've got it on camera. Like, if I do make it, I've got it on camera. It was the best moment.
Yeah, it all changed it was like, oh shoot, oh actually, this is worth filming. Film this. It was always this like, it's worth filming, and this is where I got the attitude completely changed since we sort of started the shindig. Right, get the camera out, film everything. Just film everything. Regardless if you think it's bad, good, whatever it was just like capture everything, and then eventually you'll get something that's epic.
Yeah.
I think it's much harder to do back then, like you were saying, camera on the shoulder rather than just being like, oh, here's my little camera on my phone. Guys, camera's over there, do what you want with it.
Infinite memory, batteries are cheap and easily accessible, so that's infinite. I mean, I suppose it's precious.
Point being,
really.
it's just that much harder, and serious respect, Nick, because I know how difficult it is for us to be putting videos together weekly, and it's just done from a laptop, and I'll sit up, maybe stay up late to do it, but there's just a much bigger process and almost a bigger commitment. Is what I mean. It's
I'll say one thing which was tricky was like, because I was filming for such long periods, like riders would change their bikes. Not only change their bikes, but they'd do something better than what they'd done before. So I'd already started the edits and stuff, but then Porter was changing bikes all the time, and it would be a case of replacing a clip because he'd got a better one of a similar style, like a similar kind of gap or a gap to front or something. He's I've now got a better clip which is going to replace that old one. Let's get that in. And it comes a time where you're like, I need to just get this out now because like James has already had too many bikes in this video.
It's that art term comes in. Work is never finished, only abandoned, sort of thing. That level of being like, well, actually we just have to bang it out. The clips are there. This can go in the next video to show improvement.
And I think it's in a lot of industries and things that happens where there's almost like so much stuff that goes on behind the scene. Like people who get that final DVD don't really realize obviously how many outtakes or how many things like you say that you've pulled out of it, but they just see that finished product. So I think it is just having that editorial decision to say that's the finished product. This is what's going out.
Like that can go in the next video. You missed the deadline, mate. All right.
That was always the idea of it. Like it was always designed to be like a highlights video of the riders. Like it was never meant to be like a video to show anyone else other than riders. Like it wasn't meant to be like flashy. It wasn't meant to have like two cameras on one line or anything like that. That was something I was quite keen to just keep it one camera. So there weren't any like cheats in lines. Sometimes you get like one clip of a guy going up a wall, cut, and then it goes to a gap, and then it's like the guy turns around and then goes back, and it's another angle, and basically that allows for like cheating.
Yeah, you're like, cut, that's fine. Now move up to this one. I'll cut it to there. Cool. Yeah, we know.
That's something Glasseye Trials was always kind of about for me. It was like, it was meant to be like a real thing, like
raw and organic, right? Instead of just.
Well, also that then means you can't have crap riders in it. You've got to have riders that get moves done, that don't spend a million hours hopping on top of something before.
Yeah, I mean,
did you? That's what I was. Did you? Did you select? It's kind of an odd question. Did you select? Did you have to pick who was going to be in the video, or you were just like, right, we've got a ride on this day, we're all turning up, and I'm going to film somebody doing something?
It naturally happened because we were riding all the time. Like we were riding Oxford so much, like Adam Bessel. I'm going to forget some names, but like there was a group of us that get riders. Basically, we were riding a lot, like pretty much every weekend, and like I just accumulated enough footage of someone, and it would be like, Adam Bessel, do you want to like have a section in this DVD? And he'd be like, yeah, let's do it. And
cool. So it was down to what you'd had in front of you. You were like, oh, dude, I've got like a whole bit on Jack Meek. I've got a section on you because I have enough footage, and then like you say, a section on Adam Bessel and Porter. Another great ride. I met him very early days in Plymouth, I think, when he did that. But it was more of a stumble across the riders that make it in there. Then there wasn't a fixed list as per se.
No, it just kind of happened. When you've got enough good stuff, it was like, okay, I'll get a few more clips now, and then that's going to make 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Ali Clarkson, for example, like I was going to like all the world rounds, and we were grabbing bits and pieces here and there, and it's like, this is ideal.
Yeah. Did you think it would have the impact that it has now to this day? I think like it coming out now is perfect. Like it was during this pandemic is the perfect time for it to come out, because it's been like 10 years since it came out. Any time before that, it's a bit like, why are you uploading old stuff? Why don't you put new stuff up? But 10 years is like, oh, it's retro now. Let's finally hit that point.
No one can do anything at the moment. It's like everyone's reminiscing, picking up old hobbies. It's like it's the perfect time for getting back into like an old sport that you used to do.
Yeah, it's bringing back like when movies do the remakes. Oh, we've done a remake of this, and everyone goes to watch the original again. And it's that kind of, they get DVDs, those videos sort of, I think, inspired us a little bit into being like, oh, that really captured the essence of the ride. It wasn't obviously the moves were great, but that wasn't really what to me, it felt like you were just capturing the whole essence of what those days are. And that's what we're also trying to do. So I think it's still having an influence. Yeah.
Well, I think just to add what you were saying about it being, there's no better time for it to be, re-released or added up to YouTube. I think there's a point now where Trials is really, it's like another evolution. I think you spoke about this before in a podcast, Matt, where you've got these brands like Jitsi and Krukers that are kind of like the current big names in Trials. So when you go back and look at Get and you look at it's not quite the early Ashton days of obviously chain spotting where it was, seats and, modified Cannondales and stuff like that. It's then that kind of like the Deng era and other brands that were there. But now it's like Echo. What's Echo? Who rides these brands anymore? Yeah.
Just the way that the sport evolves.
And sometimes in your head you have this notion of what Trials looks like, and there's a lot of people that have got back on their bikes in 2020. I think Rossi G was saying about this. It's like, oh, this is a current bike. This is a current frame, and they get riding.
Yeah, like, I need to get a new this. Wheeler's caught on quite nicely. He's gone straight for the new geometry, and he's very much loving it. Yeah. Other riders.
I was sure he had it. He put out some clips recently, and I'm not too up to date on the bikes that are out there now, but I'm looking at it. I'm thinking, like, his bars are really far forward, and I'm sure his bottom bracket's a little bit higher, and I'm sure he's almost jumping higher than he was before. And that, like, those clips were really inspiring. Like, you see that, it's like, because Sam's like a similar age to me. I'm like, do you know what? I really want to
just seeing that person. Oh, I want to do that. If he can do that, why can't I? Yeah.
The way that Nick said that, like, and I just noticed that his bars were a little bit further forward, and like, he was riding a bike without a seat. It's almost as evolutionary as that.
I mean, you've fair.
Do you know what? Back in the day, I had a negative stem, my stem used to go down and my bars were forward. Like, I like to think I was.
Nick was saying it before everybody else there. Yeah, see? You just said it. He's like, I had a negative.
And I was like, do you know what? I can sell it higher, but I look a bit weird riding along on this bike.
Don't get me wrong. I reckon we've done similar things like that. You're like, whoa, I feel so good on the back wheel right now, but I can't do anything else. Yeah. But that's what trials. That's what trials is. There are certain bikes that are better for certain levels of discipline. A competition bike, a street bike. Now, you yourself, actually, I'd like to think you've had a experience in both sort of the street trials of riding and the competition. Okay, two very different areas of trials. Did you used to compete as well as just sort of riding for fun?
Absolutely, yeah. Like comps were a big part of my riding. Like when I was younger, my folks used to cart me around the country and the world, in fact, which was like, I was very fortunate to do that. And then, I continued right up into 2008. I got second in the BIU Masters and third in the UCI that year. And then that was kind of, after that, I kind of faded out a bit, like other parts of life kind of took over for a bit. But I was always about both. I just loved the sport so much. And I could never quite decide if I was like a street rider or a comp rider, but they do help each other. However, you can't be a street rider and expect to be well in the comp, as you guys know. All the other way around. Comp riders aren't necessarily going to make a slick street video. So it's like,
this is it. This is why I think the combination of the two, we've always had a nice. The comp riders come out on the street, and you're like, oh, well, I can side up this, but that comp rider can ride 10 times longer than I can.
Yeah. They're doing really long lines.
Yeah. Did you always have a street bike, or did you like sort of compete on that, or did you have two different disciplines of bikes, two different
for
styles?
Me, like, I think I was quite rare in that. My bikes lasted me for absolute ages. Like the bike I've got now I had since 2008. So it's a GULE, and that bike
still around. 2008.
Yeah.
Didn't I start riding? I thought I started riding in 2006. That's like all my. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, carry on. I was just like, what?
It's funny. You guys like mention old riders like Rossi G, but for me, he's still quite new. He's like,
that is true. I guess we are a different gen. I was going to say Gen X, but I don't even know what.
We need Gen X. We need like terminologies for different trials riders, like different eras, like the millennial trials riders, and then the
generation Goddard.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've lost track now.
But in terms of bike, like my bike had to do everything. It needed a derailleur at one point to enter competitions. I don't know if you guys knew about this. Like
that was a rule, wasn't it?
Yeah, you needed 6 gears. I want to say it might not have been 6, but you needed a cassette on the back, which I like to think slowed us down considerably.
That's not a thing.
We need a retro competition this year where it's like, derailleur or nothing. What frame would you even get these days that could do that? Like,
well, it's funny how, because stocks even went to, back in the day, that used to have mod stock. That was a thing. A mod stock was just a 26-inch with horizontal dropout.
That was it. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Right,
yeah.
And then that caught on as being the stock norm. Like Onzas, Limeys, they were all horizontal dropouts, putting it that way. And then Krugers and that lot came back, being like, oh, maybe they were onto something here with the tensioners, and it's just like skipped.
Yeah, I'm glad they dropped that rule.
Back to that, but it sort of leads me into: have you seen any of these new engineered bikes, new style? Have you had a go on one yet, Nick? What are your thoughts?
You know what? I had a little look on Tati Bikes. Like I was at work and I was like, I'll just have a look, and they look quite a bit different.
The engineering.
I can't decide nowadays whether I'd like to have like a pure comp bike. Like one of these Krugers, which is just like weighs nothing, which I think would suit me because I'm really quite a light guy, which I never had back in the day. Like that might help me, but also I just love my favorite rider is probably Ali C, and I've always been into like spins and stuff as well. So I can't decide whether I'd have one or the other. Like back in the day, I had a bike which would do everything. Like my bars were quite neutral, but they were quite high, so I could still probably bunny up a little bit. But I'd also ride a comp on it, and then I'd also do the whole get section on it as well, like doing street stuff. So
I think that's what trials is, though. You have bikes for specific things in trials. I'm not saying bikes for, oh yeah, this is downhill. No, you're like, oh, I've got 3 or 4 trials bikes. This is my street. This is my
going to front bike.
This is my going to front.
Yeah. Everyone just pins it to front nowadays.
Yeah, it seems. I mean, I don't disagree.
I want to give it a go. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I recently found a love of doing that myself.
I've just bought the handlebars and the stem and haven't done that, so I just follow it just like the street mentality.
I think that's what it is, though, because of the sort of the extreme geometries now to front. You've just got this movement that once you just get there, because of the geometry that you're at, you're like, okay, I'm here, the bike's here, cool. I'll just somehow need to bring the rest of it. And
it would be nice if there was kind of more variations of that, so that you have the bikes that are good for going to front. You still had it just seems to be you either ride an inspired, you have one of these proper far forward handlebars,
well, that's
and
how I've learned
a few weirdos in between.
Yeah, well, as you get those people just being like, how are you doing that? What? Get on an inspired, maybe side up really, really big, but you go around and seeing, like, obviously Charlie's going to side up bigger than Danny Mac, right? Yeah. That's just the way that it would probably go, but set up in the right circumstances, I'm sure he's going to, reach that sort of level. So you're one of those riders, Nick, that tries to be in every discipline there. I want a bit of everything from every trials rider.
Absolutely, yeah. I think actually in the early years, I did put out more streety videos, like on my Planet X, and curb videos, which I'd like to think I invented as well. I don't know if you guys have even come across those.
I have curb competition on Trials Forum.
That started the curb comp, I believe, right? Because I think I even put something up there long time ago.
I remember that actually when you first start trials and you know where the best curbs are in your local area.
Yeah,
You have the old bus curb. It's a little bit bigger, and you're like, oh, bus curb. That was always...
Spent hours just like...
Yeah, like it was so fun. I remember I used to ride with a lad like locally and he'd be like, don't like this area. And he wasn't that good of a rider. And I was like, wow, what's up? Like, no good curbs around there.
That's no good curbs and bricks, but
it was, you could just do everything on it, and still it is when you warm up, when you get the bikes out of the car, you just do a little hop on a curb and that, test your brakes.
All the basics, yeah.
Yeah, you find anywhere and make the most of that. I think it was always harder with proper competition bikes. You get slightly more creative maybe on what is a street bike now. But that just goes to show other riders who are riding comps bikes are doing all those tricks. Look at them trying manuals and spins, and there's not really in that. But as someone who's been on the scene for a very long time, Nick, I do want to know if you've got any good stories of some riders. Maybe I have to name some people. It'll probably be from the Get riders, right? I'm sure you've maybe got some stories to dish. We've recently had Jack Meek on the show, who called you out to be on. So you can blame him, thank him, however you want to see it. You got any dish that you can dirt on us from Mr. Meek? Any stories?
Well, you know what? I was racking my brain. I'm sure there's more, but the thing about Jack was he can basically go 2 days without sleep. And like when he's the guy who mainly drives like on trips and stuff, like I just remember like really hairy moments of him like driving for hours. Like we went to one year, we did the Worlds in France and Spain, and we made it into like a big trip and stuff. But the amount of hours he was driving, like it was just quite scary.
Just like I say, you didn't feel too safe.
Because we knew he'd been up like all night and stuff, and he was also driving us the next day. So it's like,
how did you guys meet how did you actually meet a lot of the Get riders then? Was there a particular ride that you turned up at? Were you introduced? How did those bromances come about?
Me and Jack used to, I think, well, we both went to Henley College, like went to Send College for a year or two, and we were riding all the time, and like you just meet people in Oxford, Reading. These were our main spots, and then we'd do a trip to Bristol. Suddenly, like your networks got bigger, That's how I met these guys. And, it was just week in, week out. Like, it almost became a joke. It was like, let's meet at Oxford at 11. Like, you just be like, Oxford 11? Yeah, let's do it.
Routine.
Such a good city to ride in. Like, I think there's all new spots and stuff now.
Yeah, I rode there for the first time September. That was when I actually rode with Wheeler for the first time. So amazing spot. Yes, we're definitely going there soon when we can.
Never been, so I would like to. Yeah, go soon.
Just full of tourists and students. Like, no one gives you any bother.
Yeah, it does look like a good place to ride. And the security was like the whole town. No, what was it? The security, or what I thought was the police, was just university security. That was it. We're riding around the town, but the uni security drives around the town because he's like, oh, I secure the town because Oxford is like just the
university.
But amazing spot. I definitely want to get to ride there. We also have a few important questions to go through the quick fire round. Do you remember them, Tom? Sometimes I forget.
There's a little list on the floor, and I'm just staring at them now. If anyone thinks, why are you looking down, Tom?
Yeah.
So
we do have prompts.
Nick, you might have covered this already, but if you was to ride one spot, for your riding career, where would that one spot be? What's got it all for you?
Can it be outside the UK?
Can be, yep. Anywhere. Could be on
Absolutely.
the move if you've got a way of getting there.
Say Bouthiers in France, where Cox Days was held.
Yes.
I was looking through some footage of that recently. I put a load of clips up actually on the Glasseye Instagram, and looking back, just such good times there. We'd camp there, we'd party there, we'd ride there. It was just it's a really good spot. I mean, it's purely natural, but you can come up with some great stuff there.
Yeah,
riding.
I'm not a natural rider. I actually hate it, but I have been there to Boothiers, and I would vouch it is an incredible spot. Luckily, it was Joe Seddon that took me. I heard so much about it, and I was like, dude, what is this Boothiers place? Everyone's going on about.
Whereabouts in France is it?
Fontainebleau or something, I want to say. Yeah, in Fontainebleau.
Not too far from
I like the accent of that,
In Fontainebleau. So we actually went, I mean, amazing spot. Even if you don't ride rocks, it's just this sort of area where you'll find something to ride. If not, it's a beautiful place, great place to have a barbecue and get drunk, really, and camp.
Yeah.
So,
I'm in,
I think you're the first one to give us a foreign spot.
No, I think we've had foreign spots before, but
I
think Jack even said Spain.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Possibly, yeah.
Barcelona. Next question then. So you've got a favourite spot. What was your favourite bike, Nick? You've had quite a few bikes over the years, short and long. Can you give us your favourite and maybe why?
Favourite bike? Sorry, I was wondering about that. That's not actually been a quick fire round question.
See, this is why I said, do you remember the questions?
I'm looking down there and I'm like, favourite bike? I'm like, we've never asked that.
Have we not?
No, it's... Sorry, we've got to go through them now. Spot, move, rider.
Oh, and shindig.
Yeah.
Well, no, we just asked him a new question. It's what it is, because it's actually, no, Ross MacArthur mentioned something on our new Discord, and he was like, oh, ask Nick about his bikes, his Planet X days, his short and long bikes. That might be what got into my head. So you can still answer the question, Nick. We've made a new question.
I want to say maybe my Pashley, because that was my first proper trials bike. Before that, it was cross-country bikes with a saddle and, adapted and stuff. That bike suddenly allowed me to properly get up ledges and do drops without things breaking. And at the time, that was a real first, that bike. The Tongue brothers were riding that bike, and it was just a really cool bike.
I've got to ask, because obviously I've understood that Pashley have made. What was that bike? Was it actually designed as a trials bike, or was it a mounted? Because those who don't know, Pashley is a UK brand. They make they used to have the Royal Mail. Basically, any bikes that the Royal Mail people use were Pashleys. Yeah. And the only bike they still make to this day are the old set up and beg old school bikes. So it's what? It's so odd that they went, right, let's make a... And it was, did you say it was a trials bike? They actually made it intentionally?
Yeah, it was based on Matt and Eddie's input on the geometry and stuff. They both are from Stratford-upon-Avon, where Pashleys are made. I guess that just kind of happened. And
they just had backing from other trials riders that were like, hey, you could do this sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it was a stronger bike. It's a steel bike. which is obviously quite rare nowadays. That's it, really. I think it's just they look the part as well. On I'm sure you've seen on Facebook, like everyone's digging them out now of their sheds and rebuilding them. Have you seen that?
Isn't there a page? Is it that?
A lot of Pashleys about.
I can't remember what the Instagram page is called now, but there's also one just posting pictures of bikes, a lot of retro, not the retro bike one that Adrian's doing, another one I've forgotten. But yeah, like you say, the buzz is back, and regardless of whether you've rode a trials bike 20 years ago, they're getting them out, dusting them off the old Ashens. There are bikes that I'm seeing that I did not know existed, just didn't even think that they were made, those types of frames. But what would be...
So you're in Boothier's, you've got your Pashley. Yeah. What's the move you're then doing there?
Oh, God. I don't know how well the Pashley would get on. Of course it would get on like that.
Okay, it doesn't have to be the Pashley or whatever, but if there was one move, like if we gave you a bike today, like what's the move that you haven't ridden for a while, what are you itching to do?
I don't know. I keep seeing riders do like 360 endos or even more. I've seen Dan Jones... And I've seen Ali C do I think I could do that nowadays. Like if I could get the technique right, something like that, just like a show off move like that. Or
it's quite flashy, isn't it? Yeah.
Pump the tyres up enough, get a skinny tyre.
Yeah, make sure the ground's wet.
I've seen, there was a video, I can't remember who it was, I don't know if it was who you was just saying there, Dan Jones. It's like he's doing like a 540 on like a beam. Is that right?
Yeah.
I'm like, and I'm sort of thinking, well, if he can do a 540, I must be able to do a 360. And I just know, I know it's not going to end. I'll do a 180 and just fall off. But
we should set up in our garden, really.
It's intense. Yeah, it was on the Instagram. It's really good.
We do need to set up a trials park in our garden. Just to practice those. Spins is not something that I'm very used to.
So something techie then you're saying it's going to be...
Or a balance beam. Balance beams are always my thing. So maybe a balance beam.
Simple 180 on a balance beam is quite satisfying. It's what I'm saying. They're just as... This is why we always ask people that sort of question, because it's at the end of the day, we're doing tricks to get that buzz and satisfaction. You get it. And maybe 180 on a beam and side hopping 50, you get the same buzz.
Yeah.
Like I almost feel like that I would. Me side hopping the wrong way 30 inches, I am screaming for joy. But going left and I'm trying 50 and I'm annoyed. So I think it's down to, of course, it's down to the person and their preference.
You're on your Pashley, you're at Boothier's, you're doing your 540, your 360 endo, whatever it wants to be, or you ride along a thin beam. Who's the rider you want to be riding with? Now, this could be, I don't know, let's do two actually, because I never know quite what to do here. Someone who's heavily inspired you, so you think, right, I want to ride like that person. And then someone who you would just want to ride with, who's a good company to go riding with.
Well, the riding with, obviously, I've got to hook up with Jack Meek again, because we've been meaning to ride together for years now. I called him up last year, and strangely enough, he was out on his trials bike, riding Henley. And I know he's got kids as well. And I was like, "How are you doing this?" And he's like, "I'm just out for half an hour, and then." And I'm back to watch Frozen or something with kids.
Oh, being a dad, right? The responsibilities.
Definitely Jack, probably. And Ali C, I've ridden with him a lot in the past, but now he's being a proper YouTuber, which I love.
It is his life.
The idea of him adapting his riding to a wider audience like that, I think that's really cool.
Yeah, big respect to him. And even, the video I was going to mention it earlier on, but he makes a TGS style bike. He's obviously known for riding his street inspired. And it's amazing to see how he doesn't get on with it. And he's trying to go up to front and he's like, I hate this bike. This is awful.
Yeah, exactly. Stick to what you know or what you're good at. But another person contributing massively to the trials media, bringing out weekly content, etc., just for all of us. So maybe one day we'll be just as big. Who knows? We'll just keep ploughing through
sure.
The content. One of the most important questions that we always ask on the show: can you remember? Maybe tell us a little bit about your worst ever shindig, Nick.
Now, I feel like I'm going to let the whole podcast down here, but for me,
Nick doesn't have shins. Actually, I have bionic legs. Go on.
They're so worn down, they're just gone. For me, it was little and often shindigs. I'm still quite
No, it's
So
good. Committed.
To this day, they're starting to heal up because obviously I'm not riding so much. But I also remember like competitions, you'd get like a good whack from the pedals during a section, but you were so fired up on adrenaline and getting out of that section in like the remaining 30 seconds that you just carry on, and you'd probably carry on for the rest of the day. But getting to like the services at the end of the day, driving home, you'd seized up and your shin was like seriously sore.
Throbbing.
I can relate to that. Like they kind of seize up later on in the day, and that's my memory of like shindigs. Not one particular one. They were just getting hit all the time, I think.
Well, that's good. No, that's the first, actually. Everyone else so far...
Everyone's like, I know exactly where I was, what I had for lunch.
Oh, it was 2:37, and, it's just that kind of thing, which... Interesting to have a different answer, Nick. But perhaps you just had too many shindigs to remember.
Did you just have bad footwear, so they slipped off regularly and often, and it wasn't too bad?
I don't know. I did my knees in a few times, and I always had like overuse injuries. Like Wheeler actually used to refer to me as Grandad, like for years. One of my knee injuries was slipping off a diagonal rail. I don't know if you've seen it in Lloyd's in Bristol.
Yeah, we like that.
I was doing this long line for one of Johnny's videos, and I'd done it like 3 times already. But the usual scenario, you want to get it like slightly cleaner without a hop, or like you want it to look a bit better.
Yeah.
I think it was the 4th go. I gapped to this like diagonal rail and just didn't even bother like straightening it up. It just like slipped straight out. There's a clip of it I can get for you guys if you want, but I basically hit the cobbled floor pretty hard, and the knee just didn't recover for quite a while.
Ever again.
Jeez.
We'll definitely have to find that one. That would be good to see.
So I hope I've made up for it with that.
Yeah. Well, it's all right. In our last show, Nick didn't even have a shindig. If you go and check out the Radical Bites, he's had a peg in his arm. So we all nice little range of injuries, should we say?
Just call it the Knee Bash podcast instead.
Well, I did kind of. It's very relevant though, right? Kind of.
Well, a shindig is also like a term for getting together around a ball, and you having a social time, and a bash is as well, I suppose. So.
Yeah, we're using it as 2 separate words.
The trials bash,
just to cover copyright purposes. Shindig is 2 separate words, not one word, because as one word, it has a meaning rather than an item. So.
Get out of the way.
What was it? Oh yes, before I forget this now, some people.
Well, actually, no. First, I want to address this as well.
Okay,
because
you address it.
I just want to ask what Nick's son's name is. I'm really hoping his son's name is Sean.
It's Zach.
Oh, thank goodness, Zach. It's not Sean Goddard. So. We'll let the listeners know. Some people didn't know that. Sean Goddard, who's behind Faction Global, he's actually going to be on next week. I think he's on our show next week. Is not related to Nick Goddard. There you go. We've said it, everyone. They are not related. As Nick will be relieved.
Any affiliation, the names is, all the riding abilities is definitely not linked.
Do you want to go into explain to Nick where, because in our videos we scream Goddard?
Yeah, we're really sorry about this, Nick. But so Sean is very good at doing side hops, and then jumping back off again. The old on-off side hop.
Yeah.
Which we've in the southwest, Alex. All my Cornish crew, we have this term where you just shout on off your shit. That's what it used to be, right? So you'd scream that when they do the trick, and now when you see Sean do it, what do we shout instead?
We just shout Goddard.
And
then whenever anyone else does it, we now shout Goddard. And then
Goddard. When I see Sean, I don't say, "You're right, Goddard," I say, "On off your shit." So that's just that story out there now. It's out.
It's a public apology to Nick Goddard that his name is used in vain.
It's fine. Now I know.
It's better to be infamous than to be never famous at all. Okay? Sadly, I can't remember where I heard that. I think it was like Donald Trump or something.
Great.
He wasn't wrong in that moment, I'm not going to disagree with that. But just we had to clear that up. So they are separate people, and they both contribute to the trial scene as best possible. So you mentioned that you're already a dad. So you've said you're probably finding it hard to get out riding. Are you doing any form of cycling, not just trials? I know some people, getting out on a mountain bike, or is that literally your go-to? 2 wheels, no seat.
I've got an old A to B bike. It's a piece of crap that I can kind of lock up anywhere in London. It doesn't get stolen, kind of thing. I use that a little bit, but no, I guess when I get the trials bike back in London, that'll be my main one to play around.
And now that you've dropped it in now, we know he's that close. Friar Bonnet's 10 minutes cycle
this
from
is
here, because we're at Alexandra Palace. We're literally right by Ali.
Oh yeah, just so close.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm pretty
I
sure.
can ride down the trials bike for sure.
Yeah. There's no excuse now. So I have 2 trials bikes, Nick. He's like, oh shit, no.
I'll have 2 soon.
You'll have 2 soon. I've got a 24 and a mod, so there really is no excuse. Sooner or later, we're going to have to drag you out.
Definitely get right going.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely would love to do that. I feel like riding today now. I really want to get out.
Yeah, it's definitely brightened up outside, so we're good there.
Well, we can only ride the garden, sadly.
So what we covered the shindigs, we've covered the quick fire round. What else have we got to add?
I mean, other people might not know maybe a little bit about Nick yourself. What do you? We've met so many different characters in trials. We all have to do something to pay our bills. What do you do for a living, Nick?
So I work in post-production as a video editor. So that's kind of
kept this one quiet.
Kept that one quiet.
So that means the video that's going to happen later on this year is going to be it's got to be edited by Nick.
Yeah, I mean,
or is it like
the time now?
Yeah, is it like when people, for instance, when I'm sure a lot of people when they were riding trials to begin with worked in Halfords or somewhere, and then as a result their own bikes would be crap because they'd spend their life working on bikes, so when they come out of work they're not going to touch their bike. Is that the same for you and editing?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the weekend, if I was to go back to starting an edit, it's kind of there's nothing left in the tank. You've done your week of work.
Yeah,
it's too close to working or whatever. But that's what happens, isn't it? When you're your passion becomes your job. It's you need to keep that balance. You need to have 5 days working, and then the weekend is time for things which are not related to staring at a computer screen.
So, Tom, when we've made it, we know who we can just pay to edit the videos then. We won't have to do it anymore. We'll just pay him instead.
I'll come work for you guys, yeah.
That would be the dream. I've got so many. I already want, get the Toast Boys involved or create the ultimate...
trials conglomeration.
Media centre.
Get Toast Shindig.
Get your
shindigs
on toast. Get your shindigs on toast or... get butter on those shins or something. But mate, it's been absolutely pleasure to meet a legend like yourself officially.
Thanks for getting me on, and like I was saying earlier, these are so good. It's so good to hear about so many riders, what they've done since I've last seen them. You just don't get that information when you meet up with someone just on a ride. You'd never cover these topics and things I didn't know what Joe Mayer was up to,
Well, I mean, you'd be pleased to know as well, your name came up quite a lot in terms of need to have come on.
Yeah, what I have is I've got a big list of trials names. Someone mentions the name, I'll write it down. And someone mentions it again, it gets tallied. And yours had the most on the tally. So...
crap, we really have to get him on.
Well, we're a bit biased too, because the first 10 have very much been... we have a personal relationship, so it's very much us trying to find our bearings.
Well, we have a personal relationship with all our guests. We're all trials riders.
We do now, but I meant
if we saw him in the street without a seat, friends.
Yeah, exactly. But admittedly, if we did see each other in the street, we might not have recognised each other, and we're just gone
no.
It happens, and despite trials being that small community, it has this sort of big reach, I should say.
Sure.
So. Super excited of what we found out today, Nick, as well. Obviously, we've learned a bit about yourself, and very much looking forward to getting out on the bikes together.
Well, I'm excited to see as well, in lieu of what we've spoken about, what your bike is going to look like when you are riding again. That's going to be really interesting to see.
An antique, but yeah, sure.
But taking inspiration for everyone and what's going on, and have a bike that's going to fit what you like to ride is going to be interesting to see.
Yeah.
And the next video you put out, because now you've said it, we've like planted the seed.
Instagram clips or stories these days, probably.
But we planted the seed.
It'll take 4 years.
Yeah, so we shall see. Maybe we'll just capture it all for.
Is there anything else you want to add? That we haven't covered, or just a message to the trials community?
Oh, I've got one more thing to ask as well. Actually,
no, I just think you should carry on going around the riders, because I think I've listened to nearly all of them now. It's great.
Oh wow, cool. No, thanks, mate. We appreciate that. We know that not every podcast will be for everyone. Some people will listen to this one because they know that person. Others too.
Yeah, that's how it will spread, I think.
Yeah, so I'm hoping it works out. But who, if you could interview someone on the podcast, say this was your show, call somebody out now. Who do you want us to get on the Shindig podcast?
Do you know what? I'm spontaneously thinking of John Shrewsbury. You guys must.
He's already. I spoke to him yesterday.
Called out?
Yeah, he's been called out. He's on my list, and I think he's next week, the week after. So he is. Cool. He will be one of the. So great. I mean, we know we're doing the right things.
He's like bridging the gap to like our era, which
Yeah, that's exactly why he very much someone who never left. Right?
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. So I know John will definitely be listening to this one, and we are coming for you, mate.
I'm really excited for that as well.
We probably already interviewed him when he listened to this, actually. That'd be even funnier. Amazing, mate. Absolute pleasure.
Hey, thank you so much, guys.
Nick Goddard, everyone. Yes, mate.
Nick.
Thank you so much. And hopefully we'll be riding with you very, very soon, mate. Have a great weekend and take care.
We have to. Cheers, guys.
Now.
Take care, guys. See ya.
You